Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. Come straight into this, recording this after watching that final. Oh my goodness, just seeing the celebrations, we need that at Tottenham Hotspur. We really do. Hopefully that's the end game of what is being put in place behind the scenes at Spurs as well, and we're going to talk about that. But my goodness, that was my only thought. Was that, I want a piece of that. I want Tottenham to be doing that. You know, it was the anniversary, wasn't it, a couple of days ago of the 2008 League Cup. It's so far away, so far in the distance. I mean, it just feels like forever ago. We need some of that. We really, really do. Hopefully, Postecoglou is the man to take Spurs there, but I guess it also shows how difficult it is that even a team like Liverpool that have had to put out loads of young players in that final still win it, and that kind of shows the dominance of those teams at the top right now. And wow, Gary Neville's phrase, blue £1 billion bottle jobs, my word, but it shows that you can spend that sort of money, but it doesn't, guarantee that you're going to break that monopoly at the top. The ones that win all the silverware, the ones that are right up the top of the league table. That was, it just shows how difficult it is. But, that's not to say you still don't aim for it. And hopefully it's in the future for Spurs because, it's the Postecoglou way. It is. That's what he's done. He's gone everywhere and won trophies. So still a long way to go. Still very early days at Spurs, but my goodness. I know that was the best thing coming straight into recording this video after watching that, because it just made me kind of crave silverware even more than I currently do. But yeah, we had a weekend without any first team football. Very weird weekend. Kind of good things and bad things about the weekend for Spurs in terms of other teams in the Premier League. Obviously, Aston Villa did win, so they've pulled away that little bit. Obviously, if Spurs to win their game in hand, which of course we know is against Chelsea. Villa obviously won 4-2 against Forest. They've taken that little gap that made it that little bit bigger. They travel to Luton next weekend, which isn't the easiest game in the world. And then they've got Ajax away in the Champions League on the Thursday night before Spurs head to Villa Park 3 days later. It's one of those where whether it helps Spurs, we'll see. We just don't know. Does the Spurs way of playing help by having fresher legs? Of course. Have Spurs on multiple occasions gone into a game as the fresher team and still completely messed it up? Yes, they have. We know that. We've been there. We've witness to it. So I can't obviously definitely say, yeah, that's massively going to help Spurs. Does it give them, a slight advantage? Yes, I guess in their preparations. But, if they go to Ajax, Villa, win, carry the momentum in, it kind of negates a lot of that. But, yeah, we'll see. And interestingly, while Villa obviously got a win that kind of helped them and made that gap look even bigger, teams below Spurs actually kind of messed up the two below. Obviously, Man U lost at home to Fulham, and Brighton still got a point in the end, 10 men. Dunk scored late on against Everton. But, they didn't really... Well, I could say, you could argue that Brighton got a point closer, but obviously, again, Spurs win that game in hand. And yes, it's at Stamford Bridge. We know that's not exactly a 3-point worthy destination for Spurs, but I guess it's whether you see that as the game in hand. It's all, it depends how people see these things. But in terms of the Premier League, it was a strange weekend. I went, you might have seen, I went to the under-21s instead. So we're going to have a little bit of a chat in this about that as well. I've got plenty of first team stuff to talk about as well. I'm going to try and do a Q&A at the end, but to be honest, there's actually quite a lot of things to discuss. So I'm going to try and fit some questions in. It might not be the full whack of Q&A that we'd normally have in what I guess would be an international break. It kind of has that feeling. Certainly some of the stuff I was having to write, you are not scratching around for ideas, but you're going to ideas that you wouldn't normally go to in a busy week. Let's put it that way. But yeah, so I went to the under-21s. At the same time, well, roughly, about 45 minutes, an hour before the under-18s had kicked off their FA Youth Cup quarter-final against Man City. Unfortunately, despite a Tyrese Hall goal, which looked like Spurs were going to see it, they just had to see out the last minutes or so and unfortunately they conceded 2 late goals to City. The latter one, the winner, was a free kick. It was quite a decent free kick. Very unfortunate. But seeing all of those young players on social media and stuff saying how proud they are of the unit of the team and stuff, it was good. You can see the togetherness in that group that Stuart Lewis has got going there. Obviously, a lot of those players last season were winning the Under-17 Premier League Cup, and some of them were the Under-18 Premier League Cup. It was in a way a shame for them that they had this massive cup match yesterday, because a few of them would have probably been playing at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium where I was at and the Under-21s were playing. But they kind of didn't get that opportunity. Hopefully some of them will play there in the future. That's the whole point. But yeah, tough luck on them. They went there and they played well. They kind of absorbed a fair bit of pressure, as Spurs teams seem to do when they go to play Man City. But yeah, unfortunately just kind of fell short right at the end. For Spurs Under-21s, it kind of went the other way. First half an hour or so, they were playing Fleetwood Town in the Premier League Cup last 16 technically the round, and they go to, they're through now to the quarterfinal because they beat Fleetwood 6-0. Started off a little bit like, it was a little bit tighter than it kind of needed to be. League One obviously counterparts, but very good team. They actually had this 39-year-old in their backline, Fleetwood Town, Nathan Pond, who was a Montserrat international as well. I think he was one of their coaches. And I guess for him it's a great experience, and also a good bit of leadership in there in the back line for the young players. And a good experience for Spurs. I had a chat with Jamie Donley afterwards, which we'll talk about. And he said it was really good to play against someone like that. It gives you just another experience of playing against a kind of a senior pro rather than other young players. But wow, Wayne Burnett put out probably the most attacking team I have seen any Tottenham side at any level put out. It was remarkable. If you're not aware of what's happened with the Under-21s this season, having a brilliant season. They've won all bar one of their Premier League 2 games, and that one they didn't win. They drew against West Ham last weekend. They scored 1 billion goals, something like that. They're absolutely flying, and they've got this core of attacking talent right now. And with Dane Scarlett kind of being available to play, because Spurs didn't have a game, and obviously he needs minutes right now, essentially Wayne Burnett just went, yeah, I'll have him as well. And they just threw him into this mix. So you had a front three of Will Lankshear, Judson Sutbell and Iago Santiago. All terrific young players doing really well this season. Then you had a midfield which had Jamie Donley and Dane Scarlett. Dane Scarlett coming back into a slightly unnatural attacking midfield role. And then there was poor Niall John at the back of these 5 kind of attacking players. Essentially the guy, a little bit like that scene in Game of Thrones when Jon Snow is on the field at the battle and it's just him holding up his sword against the, is it Ramsay and Ramsay Bolton, is it? And his army coming towards him. It was something like that for Niall John. But after that first half hour, it just took him a little... It was almost like the rain started to come down and the goals rained in. It was just suddenly Spurs just kicked into overdrive. They were 4-0 up at half time. And the key to it all was Jamie Donley. Jamie Donley was superb. He's just... this season for him, it's just been this remarkable kind of spurt of development. I tried to ask him afterwards, like, what's happened? Obviously, he's always a very kind of highly rated player within the academy, and you kind of wondered, like, where's this come from? Now, this is like another level to his game. I mean, he is like the best player on the pitch in every Under-21s game. And obviously that's got him his first team rewards as well. And he was just like, it's just kind of just praise the coaches. That's the kind of guy he is. He was like, he didn't really have an answer. He was like, just guess it's just working incredibly hard. I think I've got the answer somewhere down in a little bit we'll talk about. But yeah, it was a really good day. Nice when you haven't got a first team match to be able to go and watch some really good attacking football as well. And the beauty of the Under-21s and the Under-18s to a degree, as I think I've said this before in videos, so apologies for those who have heard me say it, but they were waiting for a manager like Postecoglou because their style of football suits his style more than the others. We're going to talk about a little Simon Davies kind of podcast, it was a longer Simon Davies podcast, the academy director at Spurs. And I don't know if they're in the quotes I'm going to talk about later, but he did mention within there about how you stick to a plan as an academy, you play a certain brand of football, regardless of whoever the head coach of the first team is. And obviously at Spurs, that's a good thing for him, because in recent years we've had Mourinho, Conte, Nuno, all managers who do not play the kind of football that really Spurs want. Their young players. Say the brand of football. They're winning managers. Certainly Mourinho and Conte win trophies. But yeah, I guess that's not exactly how they want their academy playing that kind of football. You want them to play the football that Postecoglou is playing. And so Wayne Burnett and Stuart Lewis's teams actually, even I've watched them over the years do this, one of their fullbacks is often inverted. Obviously Postecoglou's both are, but it kind of shows they're just waiting for Postecoglou to come along. And I kind of feel like they're looking at what Postecoglou's doing in the first team, and they've just decided, Wayne Burnett and Stuart Lewis, cracking, let's go for it. Let's take the brakes off in a way. Let's, go for it. And this was very much one of those kind of games. And like I say, all does kind of hinge on Jamie Donley and that under-21 team, and just their playmaker. And he was a guy that was a striker. I remember him in the under-18s being a bit of a lethal striker, racking up the goals. And just slowly, certainly with the under-21s, there was a lot of injuries, players missing in that midfield, so he had to step back and do a job. And he's kind of almost discovered his position. He is turning into a bit of a kind of a Maddison-esque type player, and his passing range is sublime. So there were 1,803 fans there, which is decent. It's decent. I don't know, I'm a bit biased because I like to watch academy football. I like to see these young players of the future, and I like to see where they're at and where they kind of would measure against coming up, and because it's a massive step to the first team. And I guess this is kind of where I'm going with this, is you get a lot of fans out there that will say, play this kid, he must be better than senior pro X, Y or Z, or this international player that's playing. Get him in, give him a chance, you'll never know if you don't, and all of these kind of cliches that are rolled out, which I get it. I get the and I'd love to see kind of young academy players coming through and be given a chance. That's absolutely. But you cannot underestimate the step from under-21s football to the Premier League, and just how ridiculously big it is. But kind of the point, the reason I'm saying that is, you got a great opportunity there on a Saturday to go and watch these under-21s, go and see a lot of these players that maybe you're saying should play or whatever. And look, I know people live busy lives, and I know there's a lot more in life than going to watch the the under-21s playing, but I kind of thought it was quite a nice opportunity, and I was just a little bit surprised. I think the club were quite happy with that number. Personally, I just kind of thought, it was a nice opportunity to see a really talented young team of players playing, and just get out there and watch a lot of goals and potentially some first team players of the future. Certainly Jamie Donley now is getting a couple of opportunities. Whether we'll get more this season, we'll see. And a certain young Will Lankshear, you would have seen him scoring the fastest ever hat-trick at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. He's going to be some player as well. It was those two in particular was really interesting to see their partnership. It gave me real vibes of like an academy version of Kane and Son. Do you remember that season under, you probably can't forget, the season under Mourinho, when Kane kind of turned the provider quite a lot, and Sonny obviously went on and won the Golden Boot with Salah. And that season, there was just constantly Kane pulling back and playing these lovely through balls or balls over the top to Sonny. And that was exactly what it was like for Jamie Donley and Will Lankshear. Jamie Donley set up all three of Will Lankshear's goals. Jamie Donley's stats are just ridiculous this season. 17 assists and 7 goals in 19 matches. That is just obscene. What's that? 24 goal involvements in 19 games. That is madness. And he's also got 5 goals in 5 matches for England under 19s as well. So, and that's the reason. That's part of the reason. But also going into the first team level, he's looked good in training. He's kind of shown his ability in training. So he's still got a long way to go, and he acknowledges that himself. But, if you're then able to mix it among the big boys in first team training, that's why Postecoglou threw him on against Man City in those final stages, confident that he could handle it, and why he did the same against Brentford as well when it was tight, and Burnley in FA Cup when it was tight. Newcastle obviously was a different situation, but a big team again. And that is, the big difference between God, Chelsea lost 6 domestic cup finals on the bounce. That is, but they'll say Spurs are Spurs and all that sort of stuff, won't they? It's mad, but there you go. Hey, look, Chelsea have won other things, so you can't exactly throw them in at the same level, but that certainly is not a great stat. But yeah. So Jamie Donley, fantastic. He just ran the show. I mean, Will Lankshear's first goal. I'll go through the goals. First goal, really nice turn from Dane Scarlett from a Nile John pass. Turned and played a lovely low finish into the corner. Really, really nice finish. Second goal was Will Lankshear's first, which was Santiago getting down the left-hand side, putting a ball across, and Jamie Donley actually, a rare misstep on the day, tried to volley it in, kind of hit it, ended up being a pass. That's kind of the way the season's going this season. Turns out to be a pass for Lankshear to tap in at the back post. Second goal was beautiful. Donley pings a crossfield high ball over the top into Lankshear's path. It takes a lovely, lovely touch and then hit a low shot, which went in the bottom corner. And then his third goal was also beautiful. Low through ball by Donley. And he does that classic striker's chipped finish Lankshear over the goalkeeper and into the net. Actually, and if you've watched it, there's a little bit of a mini Harry Kane punch kind of celebration as well. And that was, I just got these Kane and Son vibes. Look, I'm not comparing them to them, and they're 2 world-class players, and who knows, one day that would be wonderful. But right now, it's the academy version of that. But looking at them like Lankshear, he's got the physical build of Kane. He's a very similar body shape to him. He's a big lad. He's very effective in his hold-up play, and he's excellent. He's a good young player. I've got his stats here somewhere as well. He's got 18 goals and 2 assists in 20 matches for the under-21s, and also 3 goals in his 3 first England under-19 games this season. So, yeah, he's a talent. Still quite raw, still needs a fair bit of work, but they like him. Postecoglou likes him as well, what he's seen of him. You might remember me saying that he had a lot of loan offers from not only in England but Europe as well, but they turned him down last month to get him into the kind of just continue to kind of work on him at Spurs, getting him to first team kind of training sessions at times as well. Again, whether he'll get a chance this season, it might just be too busy among the attacking spots right now. But the more you look at a player like that in first team training, and if he can score goals in first team training, that's all you can do really. You make yourself kind of such a case that it's impossible to ignore you. And it's kind of what Jamie Donley spoke to me about afterwards, and when I go through his interview with you, which was a really nice interview. His first one, I think, with a journalist. I think he's done ones with the club, and he's done one with the Premier League, but it was kind of part of the club stuff. This was his first kind of outside media interview, and he was good. It was good. He's a nice lad. Jamie is. He's one of those you really do wish the best for, because he's got a great attitude. And then the fourth goal was Dane Scarlett hit a free kick into the wall, bounced back Nile John for all of his defensive efforts, got a kind of a bouncing half volley into the back of the net. And you've probably seen, if you haven't, the sixth goal was sublime. Do watch it. It's on my Twitter feed. It's on Spurs Twitter feed. So incredible Donley ball, like a reverse pass that just cut through 4 players, Fleetwood players, and went through to Santiago, who rounds the keeper, sends him on his backside. A covering defender flies in. It looks like he's almost taking a heavy touch, but he pulls it back. The defender flies past him and taps it in the net. It is beautiful. Honestly, it's one of those that will probably go viral if it hasn't already, and showing like the fantastic kind of academy talents that Spurs have got and all of that. It was absolutely beautiful. A great match, really good. I think there's a few players there that had. It was an important day. Look, you could absolutely say it's Fleetwood Town. It's a lower level, but they've got a good academy. That's why they're at this step. That's why they're playing in the Premier League Cup, because it reminds me of there's various teams down the years at lower levels that have had good really good academies that kind of belie their status. And obviously Fleetwood have got some really good young players there. Came up against a really good team in Spurs. But there were some good days for a few of those players. Like Dane Scarlett, I think it hasn't gone well for him this season. This is a guy who everyone's raved about for years. Conte, Nuno, Jose raved about him. I remember Jose, after he'd left, I think I even wrote down his quote. Yeah, he said this, the summer of 2021, so after he'd left Spurs, he said, I know he's still very young, just 17, and it's probably too early for the next World Cup. This was like the next year, the Qatar one. He said, but in Tottenham Hotspur have a striking Dane Scarlett, who, if everything goes well, is going to be phenomenal. But it hasn't quite worked for him the last year or so. He went to Portsmouth on loan, got 6 goals in, that's 40 games. Went to Ipswich, obviously played 12 matches, didn't get any goals in the Championship. So it hasn't quite kicked on yet for him. I would say he got a lot experience-wise out of that loans. And watching him yesterday, his hold-up play, his movement off the ball is a lot better. That's all come with working with different coaches, I guess. He had Danny Cowley briefly at Ipswich. Then had John Messino afterwards. And obviously Kieran McKenna. That's a very talented young coach as well. So I think having all these kind of different voices and now back working with the likes of Ryan Mason, Chris Davies and Postecoglou as well as the attacking bunch. That was good for him. It was a real striker's goal he scored. I think that was important for him. So good for him. I thought Santiago obviously did himself the world of good again. I mean, he's been on the bench a couple of times, 3 times I think, something like that this season in the Premier League. So he's kind of, that's been a big boost for him. He's 20, he's a little bit older. What are they? Dane and Jamie Donley are both 19. Will Lankshear is 18. So he's that little bit older, Iago Santiago, but very talented Spanish lad. He's had a terrific season as well. Judson St. Bell's had a really good season. Actually, he was probably the quietest out. He worked hard, but it was the quietest probably out of that bunch. Deserved a goal, really. I mean, so did Jamie Donley. He hit a free kick against the crossbar, Jamie. That was probably the closest he kind of came that I can remember. But yeah, obviously you're going to look at the Liverpool game today and you're going to see a lot of young players out there and doing their thing, and you're probably thinking, well, why can't Spurs do that? I think definitely with Postecoglou, he is a guy that will give young players a chance. So to be fair, I've asked him about this. We can kind of speculate till the cows come home, but I did actually ask him the question about the academy and stuff, and he was very, not disparaging about it, but he said, yeah, look, there's a few players come through, but it needs to be a lot more. It needs to be a conveyor belt of these kind of players coming through. And to be fair, it's exactly what Simon Davies, the academy director, has said in the podcast, the off-the-shelf podcast he did with the club. He was very much like, yeah, no, there's a lot more work to do with the academy. So, yeah, maybe they just feel that they're not at that level, those Liverpool players. They're at a high level and ready to step into that. Hey, Chelsea still should have won in extra time, but come on. And they did have a big lead at Liverpool, obviously, in Van Dijk. But yeah, it was a terrific game of football. And like I say, I really do recommend it. If anyone's normally they play at Stevenage at the Lamex Stadium, if you can get to an under-21s game, sometimes they're at Hotspur Way, do go and watch them, because this is a terrific young set of lads right now. And Simon Davies made the point as well. There's a balance between winning football and also developing players, and sometimes winning football doesn't always hold massive development within it, and likewise sometimes developing players doesn't naturally result in winning football, because it's a little bit different at that level and what you're trying to do with players. But yeah, it was a terrific game to go and watch as well. And so yeah, I spoke to Jamie after the game. Like I say, his first interview, you don't know what you're going to get with a teenager in terms of, when you're interviewing them, because they can be the chattiest person in the world when you're just having a chat. They could be cheeky, they could be whatever, they could say loads of stuff. As soon as you kind of get your phone out, there's a dictaphone to talk to them, and it's like 1 word, 2 word answers, or they trot out the cliches that they've heard other players, internationals say on TV, very much the old football professional cliches. But he spoke well, Jamie. I mean, they do get some media training as well, which I agree with to a certain extent, because it helps them I guess, know what not to say and get themselves into a bit of an iffy area, that's fine. Sometimes you can media train a player to the point of they become quite boring. I've certainly had a few of those over the years, senior players that have been like, but with Jamie, he had that nice kind of blend of youthful kind of, I don't actually know what to say to this, but also knowing that he kind of had to kind of come up with some interesting little bits and pieces, I guess, for the interview to hang on. And it was good. It was good. It's weird because I obviously feel like the old head doing these things because I've done, obviously covered Spurs for where we at 7 and a bit years or so. But I've been a journalist for more than 20 years now, so I'm used to kind of interviewing people of all ages. And with Jamie, this doing his first interview is hopefully a good sign for him, because regardless of what people will say about these certain players, but I did Oliver Skipp's first interview, gone on to play 100 times for Spurs. Did one of Harry Winks' first interviews. I don't think it was his first, but certainly among the early bunch that he did. Obviously, he went on to become an England international, and he's had an absolutely terrific career. For really good enough. I think I'm pretty sure he'll be a Premier League player again next season. So if you're looking at it from that aspect, that's what Jamie will want to be. He will want to be a player that plays more than 100 times for Spurs. He'll want to be a Premier League player, want to be aiming to be an England international at a senior level. So, yeah, maybe that's a good sign for him. I have interviewed a few who I did their first ones and they haven't gone on to so much. I remember doing Keziah Sterling, which, yeah, he what did he do? He certainly played in the FA Cup. I remember him coming on. Might have got a Premier League appearance. I'm trying to remember now. Maybe came on in the European game as well. Last I saw, he was playing in, I don't know if it was MLS. I think it was a level below MLS. But certainly, he's made a career for himself as well. So, but there's been a few others out there as well. But obviously, Skippy and Winks are probably the ones for Jamie to kind of follow in the footsteps of, in terms of young players who have come from the academy and gone on to have, a terrific career so far. And who knows what else comes for them. But, I know we don't always, as football fans, kind of hold our academy players, and we don't cherish them quite as much after a certain period of time. But that's just my opinion on that. You know what I mean by that. Spoke to Jamie. Obviously, everything I've just said about his stats and everything he's done this season as well. And he was the best player by a mile. Lankshear was terrific. Gave him a bit of a battle for that top spot, but he was still by a way, Jamie Donley. Like I say, 4 assists on the day. Could have got a goal, had that free kick, not hit the crossbar. He was excellent, and just an array of passes as well. And I just like the fact, talking to him, that he's very excited about, because he's a big Spurs fan. I think he was saying his family are all Spurs fans, and to be playing for your club. I mean, you just interview him in the mix zone there at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You can feel that he's in dreamland. That's what he wants. That's what he's dreamed of as a boy. He still is a boy. That's what he dreamed of as an even younger boy, to be there and do that sort of stuff and pull on that Spurs shirt. And but he kind of nicely maintains a balance between being excited about that, but knowing he's still got such a long way to go on this journey. I asked him just kind of what it's been like being part of Postecoglou's first team right now. He said it's been unbelievable. Obviously, being a Tottenham fan myself as well, but I've got to keep going. I haven't done anything yet. I want to be playing. I want to be starting for the first team, so I've got to keep my head down and keep working. I think everyone involved, all of the staff, have helped me to push me on this season. Obviously, I've had to work hard, and my work rate is good. I've worked hard in training and creating habits, so it hopefully makes it easier on the pitch. I think that's my main thing. I've trained so hard on those habits this season, and that's helped me a lot more going into games, which I thought was really interesting. You don't often think about that. Just making something as a young player routine for them, just drilling it into the way they play. So that when they go out on the pitch, they don't even have to think about it. It's just natural. And you can see that in the way he plays, the way he passes. If you press Jamie Donley and put him under pressure, he knows what to do with the ball straight away. And that comes from working on those habits, which is terrific. And I asked him just straight off, what does it feel like how were you feeling in the 89th minute being told you're coming on for your Premier League debut at the Etihad with all the Man City fans going mad? It's 3-3. They want to push their team on. It's like you probably couldn't get many bigger cauldrons of noises. I remember those final minutes at the Etihad vividly, really. What's that like as a teenager coming on to that atmosphere? And it was quite funny. He didn't hide it or anything. He went, I was nervous, very nervous, especially coming on in that game. I was scared, but once it finished, I was happy. I just didn't want to concede while I was on the pitch, and it was good for me. And it was. That's the key thing. It's the classic sink or swim. I know it's a cliche, but putting into what is clearly a scary moment for a very young player. But he went out there, and I remember, I think we said at the time, his stats were actually quite good for that little bit of time. He it was only on there briefly, but he contributed defensively, holding the ball, making sure Spurs didn't lose or give up possession in daft areas. And that experience then not only helped him when he was being brought on in those other games I was talking about, but also, I think, just said to Postecoglou, right, he's one I can trust. Great. And that's, I kind of said to him about that. Was that the feeling? And he said, yeah, hopefully I think being brought late on shows that he can trust me. It's amazing and it's such a good experience. You might remember there was a moment when he lost the ball against Brentford and Maupay tried to run away and he absolutely cynically pulled him down by the hand, I think it was. And that, again, that's a sign of experience. As a kid, he might have been like, oh, I don't want to touch him, I don't get in trouble. But he took the yellow card, and that was the best thing for the team at that moment. And it, played a part in maintaining the 3 points for Spurs. So, yeah, he was... I asked him about Postecoglou and said to him, we know from the outside that he's not a guy that talks a lot to players, but what he does say makes an impact. And he said, yeah. He said he speaks very well. He maybe doesn't say as much on a training pitch, but he says that he sees everything. So I've got to be on it every day if I'm training over there. I need to make sure I don't take any day for granted. Because that's the interesting thing. If you're not aware of the way Hotspur Way is set up, there's an academy side to the training complex and the first team side, and obviously the women's side as well. They've got theirs. And the academy players that are training with the first team, even when they're considered part of the first team squad, for still quite a long while after, they will still park up and coming in the academy side of the building and then work their way through to the first team side. They don't get to park in the first team side. They don't get to kind of feel they're above where they are yet, and they don't get to feel they're above the other under 21s. I guess it's all part of the mentality thing. Keep on striving to really be a part of the first team. I remember Skippy still coming in and out of that academy side of the building for a long time after being part of the first team squad. So yeah, we get to the academy side of the building is also the main reception, and that's where the reception area, which is next to the press conference room, which we go and do our pre-match pressers with Postecoglou and obviously previous managers. And yeah, you can kind of see them all walk in, and you can kind of get to tell the characters as well. Like Jamie, for instance, Jamie will occasionally just pop his head and wave at us in the press conference, just say hello. Just a very polite kind of young man he is. Whereas other ones, other players will get their head down or just go, and some will give a nod or a smile or that. It's, again, this is not me saying, you're rubbish if you don't do that or anything like that. It's just a nice little indicator that I guess the more ones that are more comfortable and confident in that sort of arena and probably will find it a little bit easier when they do have to, do interviews with Muppets like me. As it goes on. And I asked him about training with the first team and whether he studied closely any of the players in the first team in particular. And he said, I probably look more at someone like James Maddison because I've been playing in midfield a lot of this season. But all of them, to be honest, I look up to and look at what they're doing because they're top players. They're all internationals, and that's what I want to be. I look up to all of them because they're great players and great professionals. Quite a few of them have taken me under their wing and given me advice. Most of the English ones do. They're all good lads and they encourage me. And funny enough, it's a non-English person that really clearly has made the biggest impression. I asked him, what's Sonny like as a captain and with you as well as a young player? And he said, he's unbelievable. He's great to have around the building. He's always smiling. He helps me a lot. He gives me help in training and tells me what he thinks. He's very good to me. I kind of asked him a little bit more, like, so what does he say to you in training and things like that? He said, well, if I'm in front of goal, he's making sure I'm more composed and staying calm, telling me to take an extra touch if the situation requires it. It's simple things like that, not big things, but the kind of things that definitely help me. I thought that was lovely. And that's when I talk about these little insights that we kind of want as journalists, and for you guys, I think as readers, it just kind of elevates little interviews like that. Just to know that Sonny is going up to young players like Jamie Donley and saying, wait a minute. You don't have to rush that. You don't have to just hit it like that. If you need to take an extra touch, you do that. If the situation allows you to do it, have that little touch, then bury it. And I just love that he's working with these young players. And that's a leader. That is the Tottenham Hotspur captain. And again, that's why it's such a tight-knit squad, because you've got, a captain that is doing that and bringing everyone together. So I thought that was really good. And I also kind of made the point to him as well. I had to kind of not bring it down to earth, but obviously be realistic about it, that Jamie and a lot of the other players like Alfie Dorrington, obviously injured at the moment, and Iago Santiago, another example as well, have been on that bench, but as soon as the first team kind of senior professional internationals were going to come back, lo and behold, of course, they kind of found themselves not being needed on that bench as much. And I have seen players in the past have sulked about that. I've seen academy players at Spurs have not taken that particularly well when they have to go back to the under-21s. I guess they've kind of felt a little bit like they were too good for it. I've definitely seen that, and I've heard that from people as well about certain players that haven't I felt like they'd grown out of the under-21s. And you look at someone like Jamie, and he is terrific for under-21s. He looks like the kind of player now that is probably, I'm not going to say too good for that level, but it's a lot easier for him. You can see the way he kind of dominates matches. But he's probably, by his own admission as well, not quite ready yet to be kind of like starting Premier League games, but he certainly is hopefully on that road to eventually doing that. That's the aim. But I love the fact that I kind of asked him about that and about not being able to go on the bench in Premier League games. He'll still be involved, I'd imagine, as what is it nowadays? Would you have 9 subs, 11 players, so the 20th man, 21st player that go for. In case there's an injury or illness on the day. I'm sure he'll do that quite a lot still. It's often a young player. And I said that kind of like, what do you do now? Now that you're probably going to be back with the under-21s most of the time, still training with the first team, but like, how does that affect you? How does that impact what you do for the rest of the season? And he said, I just got to keep going. And if I'm back playing for the under-21s because I'm not on the bench for the first team, well, I want to play. As in, he wants to play for the under-21s. And I've just got to be the best player every game. And then hopefully Postecoglou, notices that, or the coaching staff notice that. All I can do is my best and be ready if they give me my chance. That's it. That is the be-all and end-all. If he goes back and he's just bossing the under-21s and they just know he's far too good for that level, then, it gets to the point where Postecoglou cannot ignore him. If he's doing that in first team training, if he's looking better than the options, let's say it's between Brian Hill and him for a place on the bench. Even Brian Hill might find it difficult to get on the bench at times if everyone's fit. But or let's say a Brennan Johnson or a Timo Werner. If Jamie Donley in training is doing better than those players, I don't think that Postecoglou will look at that and have any hesitation and okay, well, you deserve to get in there, get on that bench. And that's the thing, but he's got to keep doing that. You don't just get that by kind of in your first or have a few months or so of being part of the first team squad. You've got to work at that, and there is a little bit of a hierarchy to it, despite Postecoglou kind of claiming there isn't any pecking order or stuff. He kind of then said there was a pecking order when it came to players like Jamie and Alfie Dorrington as well. And I think we saw it with Ashley Phillips as well. Even Ashley Phillips wasn't able to break into the actual starting. He hasn't even got even a minute, has he? I don't think he's played for Spurs senior team yet, first team. So, but yeah, I do feel like he'll get there. I asked about Will Lankshear as well, because I know that he has a bit of a friendship with Will Lankshear, and you can see that in the way they play. They know each other very well. He said, we get on well off the pitch, and when I've got space, Will makes runs in behind, and that's good for me because I like to find passes. His finishing is really good. So if I just give him the ball, then he will score. Obviously, Will Lankshear was bought for a reported, I think, about £2 million from Sheffield United. So he was a very kind of hot prospect when he was young as well, even younger. He's only 18 now. That makes me feel so old. And I asked him, can Will Lankshear follow your footsteps into the first team kind of setup? He said, yeah, definitely. He's got a great attitude. He's a great lad. He just keeps scoring goals and he's doing really well. I was doing really well when I got my chance. So he's just got to keep his head down, work hard. And I think he's definitely good enough. So he'll get a chance. I asked him kind of what is his best position, Jamie, as in Jamie Donley's position, because I've seen him play deeper in midfield. I've seen him play as a number 8. I've seen him as a number 10. I've seen him as the front striker. I've seen him on the wings. And he kind of laughed and he said, well, I might end up playing at centre-back next. Who knows? But I like to play in midfield. I can get more involved and I can play passes through to the likes of Will Lankshear. I like to play in midfield, but we'll see. I think that's now where his career will keep progressing. I think he will become a number 8 because of the ability he has to find a pass, whether it's high, low, long, short, no-look passes. He played a few of those as well yesterday. I think that's where he'll kind of progress in his career. The problem with that at Tottenham is that there's just so much competition in those roles. And not only just like from first-team players, from those young players around him and those coming in. I mean, you've got Alfie Devine, terrific, talented number 8, who obviously did very well at Port Vale, now at Plymouth. Port Vale is playing a bit deeper, but Plymouth, he's definitely going to be a proper kind of number 8 type there. So he's getting first team football. Lucas Bergvall is to come in. He's a number 8, obviously from Djurgården. I think he scored a beauty from a sort of like a really long dribble goal. Got a little bit lucky at the end, but still a lovely finish. He, of course, is an incredible talent. So you've got 2 players there. Alfie's 19. Lucas Berger was only 18 coming in. So instantly, Jamie's had a terrific season. But in the summer, he's 2 top quality young players coming in there to compete with him for exactly the same position. And, can you afford to have 3 different young players in your squad all trying to be a number 8 when you've also got senior pros and they'll probably bring in another 8 in the summer as well? That's the thing. So I kind of personally, I think Jamie probably heads out on loan next season, which I don't think is the worst thing at all. He's got a few years left in his contract, highly rated at Spurs, got high hopes. Wouldn't be shocked if they give him another contract after everything he's done this season. I'd pretty much expect it, to be honest. He goes somewhere like Alfie, has a really good loan, maybe same idea, start in the League One, let's say, for the first half of the season, and if, as hoped, he does really well there, then put him up to Championship and keep progressing him. And I asked him kind of about what does next season bring and all that, and he said, look, I just take each day as it comes. I haven't got that far yet to know whether the first team want me or whether they want me to go out on loan, but I'll just take it day by day and keep trying to do my best. And that's the beauty of it all. He is going to keep trying to do his best. He's that kind of guy. And he knows, because he's told him, that Postecoglou will always be watching him. And I just get the impression that's exactly what Jamie Donley wants. He wants all eyes to be on him because he loves that pressure. And that's why, even though he admitted he was scared, he went into those high pressure situations in the team in the Premier League and he did everything that was asked of him. So, I really like Jamie Donley. I think he's a very talented player and he's got this brilliant attitude and he's a nice guy. He's one of those people you just want to see do well. So, yeah, if he can get some more minutes for the first team this season at some point, that'd be great. Who knows what injuries will come. This is Spurs, so anything can happen at any time. And you never know. Sometimes it just takes a little moment. I always refer to the Marcus Rashford one when he wasn't even meant to be in a squad, was he, under Louis van Gaal at United, and there was an injury in the warm-up, and he came in and ended up coming in and scoring, and it all kind of started from there his entire career. So all Jamie needs is a moment like that, and I think he's got the quality to take it, but there's no reason also not to progress his development in the right manner and in the right pace. Definitely we're seeing those young Liverpool players today doing so well. It does kind of it makes you want to see that at Spurs, and that will happen. They're improving the quality of the academy, so you get more of the likes of Jamie and Will Lankshear. Like, they bring players like Will in from outside. I mean, Alfie Devine was brought in as well from Wigan when he was 15, 16. So, and Lucas Bergville's coming in as an 18-year-old. I know he's not going to be an academy player, but they've kind of got to bolster it with those, but they've also got to bring in some of their own, like Jamie. So, they'll do that. And, young Mikey Moore, I think he's injured, so he missed out on the FA Youth Cup as well. But he's a terrific talent. Tyrese, who scored, Callum Oliesi. I always murder pronunciation of his name. He's very talented as well. And there's so many more. I always feel bad when I kind of mention young players' names because it feels like I'm ignoring someone else that's terrific. And there's so many in there, in those young age groups that can go on and do well. But there's so much they've got to do. There's a lot to it. But kind of continuing with the academy theme at the moment. Simon Davies, academy director at Spurs, he did that Off the Shelf podcast, and I thought it was really interesting. I think it was probably one of the best that they've done. And he was talking about Postecoglou, and I thought this was quite key for kind of. There's been a little bit of how do I put this? Hysteria. Let's be honest. Spurs have lost 2 of their last 10 games, and you would think after the Wolves game that they were teetering on the brink of relegation. You would think that this is not a season in which they lost their star player and goal legend, I guess, of the last however many years on the brink of the eve of the season starting, and everyone predicting doom and mid-table finishes, and they're in 5th, and they're doing absolutely fine. Likely you'd think to get European football next season, and who knows, you go to Villa Park and you get a win, and I think the top 4's then on. I still kind of believe, I still feel like they're going to get top 4, I'd be intrigued to know what people would have accepted at the start of the season when Kane left. But anyway, it kind of sounds like I'm making excuses for it. I don't think there needs to be. It's a team in transition, a team that is being built. They're only 6 months or so in. And the reason I'm saying that is because Simon Davies was talking about not only on the surface, there's so much more to it. He was saying, I think it's probably even underestimated what Ange has done. I see day to day in terms of, well, look, firstly, he's a top coach and a top manager, yes. But more importantly, I kind of see, and you asked me about Alex Ferguson back in the day, because Simon Davies he came through the academy at United and played a few games for Alex Ferguson back then. He said, you asked me about Ferguson back in the day. Ferguson changed the culture, and I do believe that Ange is doing exactly that. He's got class about him. He knows what he wants. We're talking about that clarity of the way he wants to play. It's not stubborn. It's just a huge belief in the way he wants to do something, and he's had success doing it in the past. Everyone is talking about the impact he's made, and that's probably external, and it deserves the merit that it's received, but that's for sure. But internally, you see what an impact he's having around the club, and for me, that's probably more impressive. He's got everyone raising the bar, and he's had that impact at the football club. So yeah, this is it. This is what we don't see. He is raising levels behind the scenes. He's making them improve the structure. Improving the recruitment is another aspect of it as well. Improving the training side of things. No doubt he's pushing on sports science and nutrition, all of this sort of stuff as well. And I just thought that was really fascinating to hear that from Simon Davies' point of view as well. And they've got a good relationship. He was talking about when they speak. He said, with Ange we speak, well actually we spoke this morning, but we roughly have a bi-weekly meeting. We speak in between whenever we need to. Obviously, he's busy with all the first team stuff going on, but he always gives you that time. That's what I mean by the class of the man and the impact he's had around the place. It has to be a close relationship between the two of us. But my job as well, I've got to make sure that the players are good enough, and they are around it right now. But it is tough. And the reality is our young players have got to be better than what's in the first team. It's the same around the country. There's no God-given right to get in our first team. It's a tough point to achieve in your career, but the manager I know for sure will give opportunities as and when the time is right. You talk about the lads getting around the bench, but part of that is because they've merited, and part of that is because of the injuries. There's always that factor there, but they've got to do it consistently. It doesn't just come because they've done it for a month. You've got to be consistently doing it just for the next 20 odd years. That's the level of a top footballer. The talent will take them where it's going to take them, but we have, in my opinion, got some top talent in the academy coming through. I'll always want more of it, and I'll always be asking a question of just making it even a tougher environment for our young players coming through and get even more quality in there from outside, because we're doing a good job in the rules and parameters that we work within, as every Premier League academy does. We're in the ballpark, we're in the right ballpark, but I'll keep pushing them. I just thought that was really interesting. And like I say, then went on to speak about the kind of not flip-flopping from different styles depending on who the first team coach is, and maintaining a philosophy and a methodology. And he also said, if we're going to develop a player through to the first team, it's not easy. It's always going to be difficult because we're aiming to be a Champions League team. But it's not impossible. It makes it slightly easier, though, if you're all playing the same way. He spoke about the balance in between the winning, and like I said earlier, so I'm not going to repeat all of those quotes as well. But it was it was a really good one. I know he said to get a lad ready for Champions League football is a tough ask, but we have a few in the building who I think could be around that. So there is talent there, and they're working on that, and they're working to improve them. I thought it was a really good, honestly, off the shelf podcast. I've listened to a few of those, but that for me was up there. That was one of the best. If you want a real insight into what running an academy is like, Simon Davies had experience at the academy at Man City. Obviously, he's had experience with Vincent Kompany as well as his assistant manager. But he's seen what it takes to build a big, exciting academy, and that's what they're trying to do at Spurs as well. And there's a lot more to do, but certainly when you've got players like kind of Jamie Donley being able to get his 3 Premier League appearances, FA Cup appearance as well, you're starting to get in the right direction, and they need more of that as well. They need to, like Liverpool today, bring on a whole slew of players from their academy and be able to trust that they'll play in the same way and in the same fashion. Hey, won a trophy, so can't turn your nose up at that at all. Back to the first team. Well, I guess it's all to do with the first team, really. Looking at bits of training and stuff this week and kind of what they've been doing. Obviously, it's been a week of hard work for them. I think they were training yesterday as well. Sometimes when you have an international break, the manager, whoever it will be, will give them the middle bit of the kind of the 2 weeks off, so they get the weekend off. But Spurs were definitely in training at Hotspur Way. I had a few people tell me that. So certainly in the videos and footage we've seen so far, obviously there's been no Fraser Forster. And Pedro Porro hasn't been in any of the stuff they've shown. Destiny Udogie hasn't, but we did expect, or certainly Postecoglou expected him to hopefully be back for the Palace game. Manor Solomon is another one. He, from what I understand, was set to come back to training kind of around now in this coming few days. Maybe be a potential for selection for like the bench or something against Palace, although I do wonder whether they take it a little bit more cautiously with him, because he has a setback in the past. He has obviously, if you're not aware what happened with him, had a bad knee injury, needed surgery, then he came back, just felt a little bit of discomfort in his knee, and I think it was to do with maybe the stitching within his knee. Just something needed to be just altered a little bit. So he had a minor procedure, which was then going to keep him out for another 2-3 weeks or so. And then he was due, I think, to kind of come back to training in the middle area of this little fortnight, maybe into next week, depending on when they felt it was the right time to do it. And we'll see. We'll see whether he's managed to do that or not. Spurs are very selective, obviously, with when it comes to things like videos and photos and stuff, and they want to keep the opposition guessing, of course. But it was quite interesting to see kind of some of that. And I saw Maddison called Manor Solomon a skillful player at the club the other day in an interview. So yeah, it was unfortunate. It kind of came in, bit of an impact against Burnley, had some bright matches, really good impact sub as well, to think to be able to bring off the bench late in games against tired defences. I think he'll play his part as this season comes on, so hopefully he'll come back. What else do we notice in training? they all take the mickey out of Pat Matasar in a teasing, loving way. But it's just such a funny character. I saw there was a little video they put out, and just in it, you can just see like Mickey van der Ven just slapping the back of Pat Matasar's neck, just constantly slapping him, trying to get his attention until he turns round. It's just really funny. They just have this little. I've seen so many of the players doing that, even when I'm like watching them walking through the stadium and stuff, and they all just tease him, and it's all very good natured. It's a nice kind of way of doing it. And yeah, training, anything that we've seen has just been a lot of the attacking work, a lot of the getting the ball wide, getting it straight into that box. Seeing there was a lovely kind of volleyed, flying almost kung fu kick from Brendan Johnson, that from a Sonny cross. Bentancur put in the top corner. There's been a few youngsters involved with Jamie Donley as well. I saw George Abbott was in there, Max McKnight, Luca Gunter, the goalkeeper. Obviously, with Fraser Forster coming out, you've got Brandon Austin on the bench at the moment. We'll see kind of what comes of training. Obviously, Oliver Glasner won his first game against Burnley as Palace boss, so they'll take confidence from that. But let's be honest, Spurs have any hopes of being a top 4 side this season, they've got to be winning at home against Palace after a 2-week break with 2 weeks to prepare and be ready for it. So I hope, I'd expect to see a more Postecoglou-like Tottenham in this game. It should be. There's no excuses or reason for why it shouldn't be. They'll have been working on that, and let's hope for a really strong performance in that as well. Actually, Bentancur was also, there was some nice quotes from him about his injury. I think I said in the last video about him not being ready really, the sports science staff believing that he wasn't going to be able to reach his top levels maybe till next season. It's going to take him a while. And he had some quotes about himself. He said, "I feel really good in myself. For the game at Man U, I went into it feeling in great shape physically, but then we had a fortnight without any game. So really from a match fitness point of view, I found it a little bit tough to then come back. I do believe that I'm gradually getting back to my pre-injury form. I realise I'm still just a little bit off that right now, but I was out of action for over 9, almost 10 months between the 2 injuries, and that really is a long time. I just have to be calm, keep working hard and training like I have been, and then it won't be long before I'm back at my usual level once again." So it's exactly like I said, really. It's the guy who's played very little football, just over about 550 or so minutes in the last year. He'll get back there. I have no doubt that he'll get back there. He's a terrific player, but it's going to take a little bit longer than just your average injury before he's back sharp and fully as the Rodrigo Bentancur who was dominating games and winning them for Spurs February last year. So it'll happen. It's been one of those weeks when there's not too much happening around the first team, in that I was looking up things about kits for next season as well, because it's fascinating, that whole world. There's like various websites that are dedicated to trying to uncover the latest info on kits, and also YouTube channels that I went down some wormholes of YouTube channels. With the kits, I mean, the kits, from what I understand, are approved at Nike a year in advance, I think it is. So that's why you end up getting leaks of them, and why you end up seeing some of them on the market in foreign countries as well. And obviously Nike, such a massive company that has certain designs that go across a lot of their kits. If you're not aware, Spurs signed a massive deal with Nike in 2017 that was extended even further the following year. It will last until 2023 at the earliest. It's one of the longest football club deals in Nike's history. I think at the time it was reported it was going to be worth about 30 million a year, something like that for Spurs. So, anyone hoping that they might move away from Nike, you've got a while left on that. 2033 is the current end date, but that might get extended as well. So there's no photos have turned up yet on the kits, but quite interestingly, there's these things called colour coding, and these people far more kind of into kits than me are able to find these out, and that kind of gives them an idea then of what the next kit design template is going to look like. So it's places like Footy Headlines, that's one of them, does very well. And I was watching this guy on YouTube, I want to get his name right. Well, the channel's called Gol de Sergio. Very enthusiastic young Spanish lad talking about kits and his database and all this sort of stuff. So what I can tell, the home one, and you'll be shocked by this, is going to be white. But it does, the colour scheme is going to be white, binary blue, binary blue. And the fact that it has binary blue twice, apparently, according to those far more expert than me, indicates there's going to be quite a lot more navy on it than normal. And obviously, having had a completely white shirt this time, pretty much, it's going to be more than just like the sleeve trims that I think the current one's got. It'd be interesting to see what that means. And obviously, presumably, you'd think the navy shorts come back as well. Someone's kind of pointed towards the Nike England kit for this coming Euros. Maybe that's the way the Spurs kit will slightly go, is that that England shirt's got a really thick kind of navy collar, but it's also got down the sides, like going from under the you can't even on camera, you can see from under the arms and down, going down the kind of the sides of the trunk of the shirt are also navy, so maybe that's what the Spurs one will look like. But yeah, so a lot more navy in it seems to be, and obviously we know that comes out normally it's either June or July. It's always in time for the pre-season tour. The away one, again, according to these experts that are far more into these sort of things than I am, it looks like it could be light blue, the away kit, which I'll be very happy with because I loved the retro third kit from 2 or 3 years ago. Didn't buy it, which is really annoying. I loved it and never got around to buying it. Maybe actually if I can find it anywhere now, it's cheaper. But it was such a brilliant kit that was. That was, one of the best. So the colour scheme for this one, this away kit, is Cobalt, Bliss, Royal Tint and Binary Blue. So that means it can combine 2 shades of light blue with a navy used for the logos and stuff like that. So light blue. Obviously, we've had recent years. We've had this one's got that kind of the collar, the iridescent logos. We've had the wetsuit one from a couple of seasons ago. So this one could be a light blue. Last time I had a light blue away top was a 2015-16 kit. You might remember it had like these navy stripes going down. Again, I'm using my hand off the camera, which makes no sense to people. Probably looks dodgy as well. But yeah, I'm quite a fan of the light blue kits. So yeah, let's see. Third one, we'll see. Only because what they were saying about that various places that it's going to be mint green. Technically, the colour scheme being pushed or speculated was enamel green, bi-coastal and white, which is going to be mainly mint green with dark green and white touches to things like the logo and stuff like that. And the suggestion was that the badge will be a bit of a classic retro Spurs badge within a shield. I've kind of been doing some asking around about that because I was intrigued by the idea of that, and the kind of feeling that I got from talking to people. And the other thing was maybe that the Nike swoosh would be on its side a little bit differently. Apparently there's some leaked versions of training wear and jackets for next season which also have this look to them, so they're kind of maybe just assuming it's all part of one package. But yeah, speaking to some people I've spoken to, there seems to be maybe a slight distancing from this mint green idea because A, it would be very similar in look to Chelsea's third kit this season, which they don't like to do. And secondly, it maybe wouldn't be too much of a departure from the home kit. And the whole point of having 3 different kits, as well as to probably earn lots of money, is also to have 3 distinct and very different kits so to avoid kit clashes. So to have 2 of them that are kind of got a slight similar vibe from afar if you're looking at them makes no real sense to do that. But look, I know some people do not give a hoot about kits. They don't care what they're like. Some people are very into them. Some people this season have been saying, the third kit they've got this season is cursed. It was quite interesting. Listening to that Spanish chap on that YouTube channel He hated this season, so he kept calling it caca coloured. I think you'll know what that means. And he actually said it looks like poop was the auto translation underneath, which made me chuckle. But yeah, I quite like a little bit of kit speculation and which one, I'll normally get some kind of kit to play five-a-side in and stuff. I often try to go for a training kit more than the actual first team kit, but playing kit, I mean. But I like all that sort of stuff. But hopefully that's of some interest to anyone that likes the kit stuff. The other stuff that's come out, of course, Preseason tour, that's come out as well. We've had, I've kind of had an understanding that it was going to be Asia, but I didn't really want to go with it, as of yet until we got kind of precise details. It feels like we're now getting precise details in certain aspects of it. From what I understand, it's going to be a 3-match Asia tour. 2 of those games are going to be in South Korea. Back to Sonny's homeland, which is fantastic. I loved the trip to South Korea. Looks like they're going to be in the Kupang Play Series again. It seems to be they're going to play a Team K-League side again in a game on July the 28th. That's not absolutely confirmed yet, but it appears to be where they're heading. Spurs are then going to take on Bayern Munich on August the 2nd is the currently unconfirmed date, which obviously, hey, if England don't go far at the Euros, that means Harry Kane might be playing against Tottenham a little bit sooner than we all hoped or ever wanted to be. And maybe Eric Dyer as well, if he gets his permanent deal to Bayern. So that could be a cracker. So South Korea, I remember they played Team K-League 2 years ago when they were there. Obviously, look, I do feel for like fans in other parts of the world as well that are kind of waiting for their turn, and there's various places they haven't been to, and I mean America hasn't had them there for like 6 years or so as well. But I can kind of understand with the Sonny mania, and especially in a summer when you're not going to, there's a potential of not having some star players because you've got the Euros, you've got Copa America, both of their finals in mid-July. If you're heading out in not long after that to these countries to do a summer tour, you need 3 weeks off these players due to rest after an international tournament in the summer. So I guess if you're looking at that from a planning perspective, you're looking at it and thinking, right, Sonny doesn't have a tournament because Asian Cup's being played in January. Okay, so we go to Asia. Obviously, Sonny, huge popular figure in Asia as well. At least that's that, and that's maybe why there's a potential, looks like a strong potential of a post-season trip somewhere, obviously heavily mooted that it could be Melbourne, taking advantage of the Ange factor as well, his city where he grew up. So I guess from a planning perspective, I understand it. And look, I'd love to go to, I love seeing the world, and seeing South Korea again is fantastic. And obviously we'll have another part of Asia, I think, for this other game as well, which I've got a rough idea of. But I'm not going to say at this point either until that's confirmed. But yeah, and obviously Bayern, I forgot they've got Kim Min-jae as well, obviously often linked with Spurs. That will be cracking for the Korean fans if they're both involved in that as well. Which they will be. Yeah, so, hopefully, injuries aside. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But, really obviously hoping that as I have done in the past, hoping that I can go out on those and report on them because they're terrific experiences. Not only in terms of the environment and what you're getting to see and people you interact with, but also you get really good access to the players as well. And Ange as well, like we did last year. So, all good on that. So, we'll do a few questions before I head off. Not too many. I will do another one. Maybe I'll try and sneak in a little midweek video this week to make up for saying I'll do a Q&A and then kind of running out of time because I've spoken about all the other stuff as well. Right, what have we got here? What's the first one? We'll get to these with question marks, always the best way to do it. Here we are, contains questions. Get rid of that. There we go. Right. Okay. With links to Pedro Neto, could this mean that we're about to let Bryan Hill and probably, Solomon and Werner go as well? Neto's fantastic. Spurs do like him. I saw an £80 million figure. That's a big figure, especially for a player that's had his injury issues. But yeah, who knows? Terrific player. In terms of letting people go, Bryan Hill, you'd imagine Bryan Hill moves on this summer, just for his own career, really. He's a very talented young man and he needs to go out there and play football. Solomon, I'd be very surprised at, especially as he only came in and has barely played any football for him yet, and a free transfer. Timo Werner, I would imagine probably you make that permanent for that fee because it's so little, and I'd hope he still has much more to contribute. So it's a bit early, I guess, maybe for that question. Let's see what the rest of the season brings for both Solomon and Werner. But Bryan Hill, I'd imagine, you would think he wants to. Sorry, I should have said that's from Vigi Thomas 7939. Douglas Wugglers asks, you've mentioned you used to play Football Manager quite a lot, and have also mentioned playing FIFA. What game or games are you currently playing, and what's your favourite game of all time? Ooh, crikey. I am still doing a bit of, it's called EAFC nowadays. Still do a little bit of that at times. Sometimes I just like to sit on my laptop and play a really old game as well that I just enjoy. Civilization, and it's an old version of it, Civilization 4. They did ones afterwards that I just never took to. I think it was Civilization 4, Way of the Beyond the Sword. I can't remember what it is. I just literally turn it on each time. I just call it Civ. I can't remember if it's 4 or 5. Anyway, I just sometimes fire that up. I like other kind of games that I play. I play a bit of Madden sometimes. Play God of War, Ragnarok. That was an excellent game as well. Spider-Man. Spider-Man 2, played that as well. Miles Morales one as well. I'm just a big kid at heart, quite frankly. I do like the odd game. I wouldn't say I do them like non-stop. Sometimes I'll get a game like one of those I've just said, and I will kind of dedicate a fair bit of time to it and finishing it. But then I'll also go long periods of not playing too many. It depends. So there you go. Cole Brazer asks, can you imagine a parallel universe in which you've swapped roles with Guesty and you both follow Everton rather than Spurs? Probably not. I would have to have kind of been born up that way. No. Guesty's not having the greatest of times with Everton at the moment either. But he's got a new stadium to look forward to as well soon. It's a question from a very long username that's like an automatic generated one. Has there been any more news on the Melbourne friendly post-season? Not yet. I'd imagine, no. You'd think we'll hear about that quite soon. Obviously, we're starting to get details about the post-season friendly. Pre-season friendlies. I think the post-season one is probably going to have to be... you're only... What you're looking at, that would be in end of May, wouldn't it? So probably going to have to announce that reasonably soon. Keep an eye out for that. What else we got? The G3128 asks, why is it so difficult to hear questions from journalists in the Spurs news conferences? I listen to other clubs and the questions can be heard clear as day. Well, they have kind of fixed that in the pre-match pressers because they give us a microphone and we talk into it. They don't do that for the post-match ones at this moment in time unless it's a European game. So, I don't know. It's one for the club, really. It's not probably one for me. Because I mentioned that I was watching the Wolves game while in the Tower of Terror queue at Disneyland Paris, the last one. Quadwo Boateng asks, what did Mrs. Gold do to keep herself company? Pretty much the same thing. I think she was just looking at her phone and talking to various people as well. Oliver Saffet Cole asks, what one Spurs player would you add into our current squad? Ooh. Can I say Harry Kane? Harry Kane? in this system, as we got a brief glimpse against Shakhtar, would be incredible. If I'm not allowed Harry Kane, then Glenn Hoddle would be amazing in it. Gaza would be amazing in it as well. Ginola would have fitted it quite nicely as well. My hero growing up was Gary Lineker, and then a little bit later was Teddy Sheringham. Either of those two, I think, would fit it very nicely as well. What else we got? THFC3454. Do you foresee Udogie and Porro establishing themselves as the Robertson and Trent of Spurs in the long term? Hopefully, that'd be great. Those two have achieved a hell of a lot in the game, so if they can mirror that, that would be awesome. Antre8481 asks, is Mrs. Gold going to get a testimonial for her 20 years? She deserves one. She absolutely deserves one for putting up with me for that long. The random Disney question. How does Disneyland Paris compare to Disney World in America? Disney World in America is huge. It's just massive. It is probably the pinnacle of all the Disney stuff for anyone that likes Disney things. I remember going to Disneyland in California in LA after having been Disney World Orlando. I was a bit like, oh, this is a bit small. And that took a lot of getting used to, whereas maybe that prepared me then for Disneyland Paris, which is a bit smaller, but I still feel kind of has that little bit of magic that Disney stuff does. As much magic as they've still got without squeezing all the money they possibly can out of you. So, it's never going to be as big, and, Disney World in Orlando has just got so many different parks. It's a very cool place to go. But no, it's very cool. It's very cool. If you get the chance and you've got 2, 3, 4 days, it was great fun. We had a lovely time. What else we got here? Interesting one. Adam Spicer Drums 2788. How far away is the current Spurs squad from prime Poch squad? Is it better, worse, and where do you feel the weaknesses are? Oh, it's so early to tell. It's so early. You could argue you've got similar players. You've got your Maddison, who's your Ericsson. You've got your Vicario, who was Lloris back then. Romero and Van de Ven, hoping they can be the Alderweireld and Vertonghen. Bassoum and Bentancur, can they be the, I guess, Dembele, Wanyama, Dyer to start off with. Dyer and Dembele were really good together as well. Like you said about the fullbacks previously, Udogie and Porro, can they be the Walker and Rose? Maybe. I think obviously you're still looking for your Harry Kane. Richarlison had a terrific burst of form. Is he going to be a prolific Kane-like striker? You'd probably say it's unlikely because he hasn't shown that previously in his career, but who knows? I still think it's probably a little way off that at the moment because obviously that was a team that was finished second and third in the league and had a couple of title challenges. So I think they'll get there. As Postecoglou said himself, a couple more windows, transfer windows. The one that's just gone, and maybe the summer one as well. And I think you'll get a better kind of feeling along those lines about it. Adam C asks, could the recent drop in performance be down to too many players playing who have just returned from injury at the same time? Yeah, I think it is. I think I've said that in the previous one. I think the rhythm isn't there because of that. And he also asked, what was your favourite ride at Disneyland Paris? The Avengers one was very cool. And their version of Space Mountain is mad. It's like goes upside down briefly in one moment, Hyperspace Mountain, and crushes Coaster, which you think is going to be a kids ride and is actually really, really good fun. Had a bit of a Guardians of the Galaxy in Orlando vibe to it. That's a really good question. I can't think off the top of my head. JRule3Z asks, who do you think is Spurs' most successful reject player? Didn't do well at Spurs, but went on to be more successful. As a spur of the moment question, that's really, really difficult. I mean, let's be honest, most players have gone and left Spurs and gone on to win lots of stuff. I suppose you're saying didn't do well at Spurs. I was going to say Kyle Walker has obviously gone on and done incredibly well, but he did well at Spurs as well, really. I don't know. That's a really difficult one. Please, people in the comments, answer that one for me. Help me out. Because I'm sure there's many that I haven't kind of thought of. I mean, you've had players that have done well before they came to Spurs, and then at Spurs have just gone, ugh. Obviously, Rebrov, it just didn't suit him. Postecoglou had like a reasonable career as well. Llorente's had better times at other clubs, although he did his job at Spurs in a way. I'm sure there'll be a few. Again, you've got the likes of Modric and... Actually, they've got to be in there above Walker, haven't they? Modric and Bale for going off and winning trophies, but then they were pretty cool at Spurs as well. That's a great question. I'll have a think about that. And if I can think of one for next week or the next video, I'll say that. But please, anyone, help me out in the comments with some more. Chad Mercer 3995 asks, do you think Spurs will look to cancel Sess's contract in the summer? I don't think you cancel a contract. I mean, they still have a year left on it. Let's see what happens with Sess. I think it's too early. It's too early just to come right. He's 23 years old. Let's see first. What's interesting? EMZ, very technical one about YouTube here. EMZ101. Do Spurs performances impact your views and engagement? For example, if Spurs are on a winning streak, do you see more views compared to when results are going poorly? It's very hit and miss in terms of that. I think the average for these videos is normally around 50,000. Sometimes it dips below, sometimes it goes way above. I mean, I've had a whole kind of string of them that have been up there and way above that, like 80,000, 90,000, touching 100,000 for some of them. It's difficult because it works in different ways. They can be playing very well and people want to talk about them and listen about them. That's great. But also there can be times when they're not playing well, when sometimes people want to hear you, I guess, unloading and having a bit of a rant about the club like they do. Or they want to hear the opposite and they'll want to hear you explain why it isn't so bad and why maybe, look at this. Have you not seen this? Or have you thought about this aspect? So, yeah, it's a funny one. They kind of maintain normally a rough kind of idea of numbers. Yeah, even under Conte, it didn't dip too much when it was a bit rubbish towards the end, or Mourinho. I think, we were bonded by our kind of collective we're all in it together, I guess, is probably the best way of putting it. What else we got here? Alt I Stick asks, what youth product excites you the most and why? Probably Jamie Donley, the way he's playing right now. Honestly, I think he's an incredibly exciting player. Will Lankshear is a goal scorer, definitely. And hey, coming in from the outside, Lucas Bergvall, and as I said, Alfie Devine coming back, I think will be terrific as well. So, yeah. I mean, out of those, I'll pick Jamie because I've just interviewed him as well, and he's a lovely lad. What else we got here? I'm deliberately leaving a couple out in case I do one in midweek because I think there will be nice ones for a midweek one. John Scriven asks, was it a mistake getting rid of Gianni Vio? Is this part of the reason we're doing worse with set pieces? Yeah, I don't know whether if you're talking defensively, which I've been talking about in recent weeks, Gianni Vio wasn't involved in defensive set pieces. In terms of attacking, he's scored a few from set pieces this season. I don't think I'd be interested to see the stats, whether it's far worse or not from that. I don't know, but if you're thinking defensively, yeah, he wasn't really involved with that either. Someone asking me if I deliberately choose a top that matches the wall. I do not. I just literally grab whatever top I'm wearing for the day rather than the video. What else we got? Interesting. Punky Guy asks, I know you used to have an account on Spurs community back in the day. Do you still have accounts on Spurs forums nowadays to gauge what fans are saying? And do you ever post your own views? I did start off on Spurs community way back. That was where it all really began with me writing about Spurs. It was Rob, the owner of the site back then, was terrific. Yeah, he was very kind of a really helpful guy in my kind of starting off career. So I used to write, was it Ali's All Gold, I think? I used to write a column way back in the day. Taking me all the way to this, I guess, via a very kind of indirect route. But in terms of, no, I don't really go on forums anymore at all. I don't think I've logged into Spurs community for a long time. I think maybe because social media, I guess, you kind of see a cross-section of opinions. I'll occasionally look on Reddit. They've got quite a fun forum in there. That's probably the one I will occasionally look at. But yeah, mostly I think social media throws every kind of opinion at you. So I probably don't go into forums too much anymore, if at all. But yeah, like I say, Reddit's probably the one. That's a forum, isn't it, really? Occasionally I'll look in there. Some quite funny stuff pops up in there. But like I say, it is very, very occasionally. But I do try to. It seems to be quite... I don't know how to put this. It's quite maybe a nicer atmosphere in there than it is on social media. Whenever I've gone in there, people seem to have quite good debates and interesting chats about stuff. But a little bit like I've said in the past about I don't really listen to other kind of Spurs or football podcasts, and I don't watch other kind of Spurs YouTube things or anything like that, purely because my life is so consumed by Spurs. Whenever I have a spare moment, I try not to really do anything to do with Spurs or even football too much. I watch, a lot of football games as kind of we have to, but any spare moment I'll try and do something a little bit different, and often it's movies, TV, or just going out and in the world, in the wide world. So yeah. Do you know what? I think what we'll do is we'll wrap it up there anyway. There are more questions, and like I said, that might actually lend itself to maybe doing a little midweek video. I might do that because there are still quite a few, and I feel bad about it. And knowing Spurs, we are still going to be something that happens with Tottenham. There always is. I presume the press conference will probably be Friday next week, but I'll do it before then. Maybe aim for like a Wednesday video or something like that. We'll have just a little chat about some ideas, and if there's anything in the comments you ever want me to talk about, let me know. Quite happy to have suggestions about things I might speak to. The dots come back on the wall. Didn't even notice that. That's just crept in over there. There you go. A little cameo for the dot on the wall. Normally I try and position the camera so it doesn't, but I think the camera has like one of these autofocus things, so it's back in there. So there you go. So to come this week, training. Obviously ahead of this big game. Like I say, keep an eye out for Manor Solomon. I think hopefully the aim is to try to get him back into training this week. We'll see how it goes. Like I say, I still wonder if it comes too early to get a place on the bench, just purely because they've got so much cover there right now in the wing slots, and that allows him a bit more time, I guess, to feel more comfortable with his body after, he hasn't played since September. That's a while. So keep an eye on him. And yeah, with Doggy hopefully back, Porro, the way Postecoglou was talking was maybe not back quite yet. Although I saw him replying to someone about fantasy football team saying, "Don't sell me," as if to indicate he's going to be back sooner rather than later. We'll see. It's his first injury of the season, really, isn't it? A little strain, a muscle strain. We'll see. See who they've got back. I do think having at least one of the fullbacks back is obviously quite important to the Postecoglou way of playing. But with 2 weeks having prepared, you prepare for a way that if you don't have them, that you still play your football. So, So I go back to my point at the start about watching that final and wanting to feel that again with Spurs and winning silverware, and hopefully that is what comes in the years to come. And hopefully Postecoglou is the man to do that. I hope you enjoyed that. It's a little bit different, focusing on some of the academy stuff, so a little bit more about these young players coming through. Speaking about the Postecoglou impact behind the scenes as well, with the culture and changing the infrastructure, and also little things like kits and training. I don't know. We tried to do a little bit different because obviously we don't have a match analysis to go through, but hopefully there's enough in there. Like I say, might try and do another one midweek as well. So. Time to head off and enjoy my Sunday evening, and I hope you all do the same. As always, stay healthy, stay safe, look after yourselves. I'll catch you later. Goodbye.